Hey folks, this is Jen Smith. I'm the program director for Grow New York, and I want to thank you for being part of our third Grow New York lunch special food and ag innovation chat series. Grow New York is a food and ag startup competition with $3 million in prize money annually. We are currently hosting the open application period, so you can check that out at grow-ny.com. The applications will be open through July 15th. You do not have to be located in the Grow New York region in order to have a viable application for the Grow New York competition. So please, for more information, visit the website. We also host regular information sessions where we go in some detail into what makes a good application, what the context of the overall Grow New York program is for those applications. Lots of good information. So you can learn about that on our website. Quick word about format for today. You'll see at the bottom of the window in which you're viewing this webinar, there's a little QA icon. You can submit questions through that module, and I will consolidate them. And at the end of the session, I'll share those questions with Danny and Austin. We're going to take no more than 30 minutes, right? This is a bite-sized snack for you on your lunch break. So we'll keep to that time frame. And right now, this is a weekly series. We're actually going to shift that to bi-weekly starting at the end of May. Thursdays at noon, you can see the full series. We've got some great topics coming up and some great speakers. This is kind of a way to bridge the gap that's created by all of us being at home, right? So a way to kind of create moments where entrepreneurs are able to talk with and to other entrepreneurs. Today's topic is leveraging strategic partnerships. I'm going to turn it over to Brad Treat from the Southern Tier Startup Alliance in a moment, and he will introduce Danny from Enduraphin and Austin, who is a Johnson MBA candidate. We brought Brad in because the work that Southern Tier Startup Alliance is doing to support entrepreneurs across sectors in the Grow New York region is significant. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Brad.
Thank you, Jen. So hi, everybody. My name is Brad Treat. I am the program lead for the Southern Tier Startup Alliance. We're an organization funded by the state of New York to help entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, active entrepreneurs. The state does this because there's significant data that shows that the net new job growth comes from the new companies. And the most effective and efficient way to support those companies is by providing them with experience and reliable mentorship early on in the company's creation. So what this means is we have a group of people with the job title of entrepreneur in residence, often we refer to as shorthand as EIR, entrepreneur in residence, who are here to help, provide advice, provide connections, provide insights, help you get unstuck. So think of us as consultants paid for by the state of New York to help you grow your business, because the state of New York wants you to grow your business, hire people, pay taxes, create jobs, these kind of good things. We also, in doing this, we support the 7 incubators throughout the Southern Tier region. You can think of the Southern Tier as basically the bottom of Seneca Lake and the bottom of Cayuga Lake down to the Pennsylvania border. There's 8 counties in that region. So we support those 7 incubators, but you don't have to be an incubator, but it's a good place to go because there's currently 154 companies in these 7 incubators. And one of the questions we get asked a lot about is, well, how do I do fundraising? How do I raise money? And so one of the things that we've done is really focused on this. In the 4 years that we've been doing this, we've advised on over 117 deals. Those companies have raised over $100 million. That's from the venture capital realm. That's 71 venture capitalists, 37 of whom who had never invested in the region before. So connecting entrepreneurs to capital, but also to human resources. We're have a lot of connections, helping people find the right people for their job. That's something we can do. So the question is, hey Brad, this sounds interesting. How do I get in touch with you? You can find us at ststartup@southerntier, ststartup.com, or email us at info@ststartup.com. Part of our thinking is, we'll take a first meeting with anybody, see how we can help, see what resource we can connect you to, and hopefully build a long-term relationship. And so that's a nice segue to Enduraphin. And Danny Drake, the founder of Enduraphin, we met them through their connection with the Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator, which is based in downtown Binghamton, New York. And so these guys had a great idea for a new take on a fitness drink. And they said, we wanted to be healthy, conscious, environmentally friendly, but also get rid of a lot of the hassle. And so really did some great work understanding their customer. So with us, I'd like to introduce Danny and Austin. So Austin's a student at the Johnson School of Cornell, and they're going to take over and do the interview from here. So Danny and Austin, if you guys want to take yourselves off mic, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. Well, so happy to be here with Danny. Danny, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
So wanted to get started here and dive right in. Danny, I would love to hear about how you got started with Enduraphin.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm originally from the Syracuse, New York area. Went to Cicero North Syracuse High School, and while I was there, I was a multi-sport athlete, but always lacked the true size to be competitive in athletics at that next level. I was 6'2", 170 pounds. Realized that my athletic journey was going to stop after high school, but my relationship with physical fitness and nutrition could begin. And so while I went off to Clarkson University up in Potsdam, New York, to study engineering and management. And while there, started getting big into the gym, lifting and understanding exactly what I should be consuming after my workout. And my good friend from high school, Mike Delberth, was doing the same, but he was a year behind at Cicero North Syracuse High School. And we started to go through the process. We found that nutrition was as important, if not more important, than the exercise you're doing. And specifically protein, when consumed within 30 minutes of a workout, would help you recover and grow in the gym. And so we started to go through the process of the big 5-pound bulk jug of protein powder, and then that shaker bottle or blender bottle that you've probably used. But what we quickly realized is that process is a big pain in the butt. You got to bring your protein to the gym, usually in this plastic baggie, mix it into your shaker bottle, and then be sure that you clean that shaker bottle after every workout. And if you don't, you're left with this fermenting dairy product that smells absolutely horrible. And so Mike and I started to go through that process. After having a few stink bombs in my dorm room, we realized that process wasn't convenient. And so we switched to the more convenient option in a ready-to-drink protein shake. But what we quickly found is that those shakes are packed full of preservatives and additives, typically to maintain the shelf life of the product. And so that's what kind of got our brains going on. How could we create a solution that delivered on both quality and convenience and didn't sacrifice one for the other?
That's great to hear. Yeah. So it sounds like when you built that up, you had an idea for a product. And Brad even alluded to this. Like, what was your next step?
Yeah. So being at Clarkson University, they have an innovation center up there, and we were two young guys, didn't really know how to start a business, and so we took the idea up to that innovation office and said, "Here's our problem. This is our idea for a solution. How do we get out and make a business?" And I think that the first thing that they told us is that we need to figure out product market fit and how we'd be able to get this product out and actually sell it. And so we started to think, where is this happening the most? And what we quickly found is that athletes are the core consumer of this sports nutrition product. And so we took that, right? Clarkson University has a D1 hockey program, which I know there's probably a lot of Cornell viewers on here, pretty competitive rivalry there. But I took the the problem to the strength and conditioning coach, and the strength and conditioning coach manages all of the athletes' needs, right? Understanding what they need to do to lift to get better, and then also what they need to eat to recover to get better. Brought that same problem that I mentioned to you in there and said, are you facing this? And he's like, yeah, but with, 15 to 30 athletes in the gym at once, right? So now this problem that I had as an individual grew at a multiple. And we saw that this market fit was probably a great starting point for us. And so from there, went out and called like every strength and conditioning coach in the nation at the D1 level and at the professional level, just trying to understand if that problem was happening throughout the industry, and quickly found that it was. And from there started to do some customer discovery, just really understanding their need as a strength and conditioning coach or a registered dietitian.
Very cool. Yeah, and so it sounds like it was a natural fit to understand how you could build a partnership with Clarkson, and we really want to focus in on these strategic partnerships. So I'm curious, so coming from like starting to build that process with Clarkson, how did you start building those relationships with other schools after identifying their needs?
Yeah. So first off, the product that we developed, I'll get to that. So the product that we developed is a single-use blending bottle. It's got 2 fins on the inside that act as the agitator, similar to that wire whisk ball that jumps around in the blender bottle. And then we pre-fill each of those bottles with a single serving of our high-quality protein in a powdered state. So now when we deliver the product, we can deliver on that quality that you would achieve in the powdered state and the convenience that you get from that ready-to-drink shake. So having this product concept in mind, we went and I think the beginning of the relationship started as, we're 2 young guys at the time, recently out of college. So kind of pulled that young college card to get these strength and conditioning coaches on the line, and just went through, a series of questions, asking them, what they provide for their athletes after the workouts, what do they take on the road, what do they dislike about the product and the current solution. And that's really what allowed us to begin building that relationship. I think the biggest thing with relationships is hearing your customer, right? Understanding what they actually need before you try to introduce a product and begin selling. So the relationship began with this discovery element, and then kind of grew over time as we were able to raise capital and produce products.
Very, very cool. And so how has that, so you're listening to your customer, you're hearing their needs. Is there anything else that you have to do to establish that formal relationship with them once you get that going?
Yeah. So I think the two biggest things for a relationship are familiarity and trust. And one of the things that we quickly learned, being an unfunded startup at the time, was we're always on the phone, right? And Zoom really wasn't the option that we would use back in the day to get that face-to-face contact. But what we realized is that the more that we can get in front of the strength coach, in front of the registered dietitian at this level, the better we were at creating that relationship and building familiarity and trust. And so the next kind of few steps were, how do we get on the road and get out to these schools, set up meetings, because these coaches are getting calls all the time, cold calls all the time, and to be able to show face and then actually get product in their hand, I think was one of the biggest building blocks for us as we started to build out those relationships.
Yeah, Danny, I think you have an interesting story there, right? So you said getting on the road. So I'm curious. So you had mentioned to me earlier that you just decided to go on the road. Can you tell us just a little bit about getting on the road and forming partnerships in person?
Yeah. So we raised a round of capital after getting recruited down into the Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator, and they're a huge help in helping to refocus our energy right after graduating, deciding to go all in full time. Allowed us to refocus, raise capital, and then now with the funding, we could get out on the road. And we decided to go on this trip. And Brad likes to say that we're true hustlers. So I think this is a this is a good element of that. So a friend was moving to Austin, Texas, right? And we were like, how do we, can we help him move? And if we do, how can we turn this into something that can grow our business? And so we decided to go on this drive, but make it a business trip. And so made a list of every single Division I college and professional team along the route from Syracuse, New York down to Austin or Houston, Texas. Had a giant list. And this is after we began selling to about 10 Division I universities. Took that list, sent it off to the strength and conditioning coaches and dietitians that we were already working with and said, hey, we're about to go on this crazy trip. We're driving from Syracuse to Austin. Here are the spots that we're thinking about stopping. Do you know any coaches or dietitians at these locations? And what we found was that this industry, the strength and conditioning and dietetic industry is super connected. And we were getting 1 to 3 introductions, from 3 different people calling on this one strength and conditioning coach saying, hey, I got this company that's going on this trip. Would you be able to make some time for them? And one of the coolest ones was we had a stop at an NBA team. Got to go into their training facility, and it was funny when we first met him. He was like, you guys must have something legit, because I got 3 messages from people that I really trust in the industry. And so I think one of the biggest things we learned was how valuable relationships were, right? To get that door opened in a warm way instead of the cold call way helps accelerate our process. And by the end of that meeting, he was like, when you guys walked in, I didn't think you're that smart. But you have something truly incredible here. And from that point forward, right, that was kind of halfway through our trip. He then opened up the door to a number of other NBA teams along the route. And so, one of the things I was thinking when getting on this call was relationships. So when you talk about a startup, a lot of times it's protection. How do you protect your idea? And our bottle is patented, and we've got trademarks on our name, right? We're building up that structure. But I think one of the things that a lot of companies need to focus on is relationships are a key element. What key relationships do you have that will set you apart? And I think that can be more of a protection effort than sometimes getting that patent, right? If you've got entries to all of these big time sales outlets, and they will only go with you, I think that's a pretty protective measure in the launch of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think two things come up for me there, which is one is the warm handoff makes a ton of sense. It's a great idea. And also focusing very specifically on strength and conditioning coaches, you reached a level of people that communicate with each other in the industry versus going to like the head coach or something like that. And that was very specific and targeted. I thought that was a good strategic move. Switching gears a little bit. So if we talk about the overall where you could build partnerships, what made you go after colleges, let's say sports teams in general, college and professional, as compared to retail outlets or potentially gyms or like larger fitness oriented entities?
Yeah, absolutely. So being a 2-man team and slowly building into, growing our organization, we realized the buying power that these organizations had, right? You think of a Division I university, they provide protein for all of their athletes after every single workout. And so you think of 600 athletes consuming protein 5 times a week. There's a pretty significant quantity there that we could manage as a small team. But I think even bigger than that was creating a product that these high level athletes and strength coaches would accept, love, and then provide onto their athletes, right? So you've got the athlete is typically the influencer to the general market, but the strength and conditioning coach is the influencer of the athlete. And so by creating that relationship with the strength coach and gaining the trust because of the quality and convenience of the product, it helps to establish our brand around this level of influencer that we're currently working with. Now, we know eventually retail, strategic retail and private training facilities will be a market for us, but our sole goal now is building the brand up around the high performance athlete, and then allowing it to kind of have that natural trickle effect from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll have that established trust within the industry, and people would be more inclined to buy it. Makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, have you had an opportunity to incorporate feedback from your partners on the product itself, or even the relationship?
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of mentioned at the beginning, building that relationship started with customer discovery, right? And developing the product. I'm not a dietitian, right? I didn't go to school to study sports nutrition. I feel like I've gotten a pretty good education just from being in the industry and talking and networking with all of these individuals. But when we were creating the product, that's what we're doing. Just listening to what they wanted to see and what they didn't want to see in a recovery product for their athletes. And so from the get-go, we were incorporating, our customer feedback and creating the exact product that they wanted for their athletes. And I think that's a key, right? As we continue to scale our organization and introduce new products, it'll come from hearing the dietitian, hearing the strength coach, what do they need, and then having our chain set up to be able to service that need.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. We'll see one more question, then we'll go out to Q&A. Just want to know, what has surprised you the most in this process in terms of building partnerships?
Surprised me the most. So I think there's a big thing that, Gary Vaynerchuk says, and he had a book that came out, Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? And it's about giving more value than you receive, right? And one of the things that we started kind of early on and something we continue to plan out is, how do we give value before seeing if we can provide value to them? In the beginning it was tough because you have no capital. You try to think of creative ways that you can give, but just even there's a story on our supply chain side, right? We're going through our first production run and needed to hit a deadline, and the supplier kind of had a pushback lead time for us. And I remember it was like, Mike, we need to figure out how to get this going. And we decided to we went to Dunkin' Donuts, right? We bought 24 donuts, brought them to the manufacturer that we were working with, wrote a note to the CEO of the company and said, hey, we're a small company. I know that, right now you've got a lot of other planned companies on the line, but we really need to get this done to be able to hit our deadline. And that one that give gesture allowed us to, produce the good that we needed to go to production in time. And there's so many other stories about just understanding your customer to be able to give strategically, right? And it doesn't have to be, capital money. You don't have to give money isn't the element. It's what makes people tick and how can you show that you understand and truly value that person. So a lot of cool creative ideas that we had, but I think that's one that really sticks top of mind for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that perspective. And also partners can be your suppliers as well. So
That's right.
Very important to recognize that. So I'll open it up to Jen and see if we have any questions from the audience.
Great. I love that story about the Dunkin' Donuts trip. A couple questions have come in about sustainability. How are you making your single-use product consistent with sustainability? Yep. As trends move towards no plastic, SDG goals, how does that impact your business model? Will you need to evolve?
Yeah, so our biggest thing in starting this was delivering quality conveniently, right? And the thing that we noticed was that shaker bottle, though they say it's reusable, a lot of times you don't clean that shaker bottle, you end up throwing it out because it becomes this bacteria haven. And so we wanted to, especially now, right, with times of COVID-19 and sanitation, keeping your surfaces clean. We wanted to be able to do that, and the way to do it was in this single-use product. But when we set it up, we did research on every type of material that could be used to do it effectively, right? Our bottle was formed to have these agitators on the inside, and so we knew we needed to get a material that could form that way. And so started looking to the plastics that were out there and made sure that the one that we use is 100% recyclable, and making sure that if the athlete and when the athlete takes the product and puts it in a blue bin, it would get reclaimed and made into various other goods like outside patio furniture, etc. But we keep our our brain and our minds moving around. How can we continue to get better? And there's new polymers and materials that are starting to be researched, but we want to make sure. So there's like corn-based plastics. We just want to make sure that we're not adding to the problem, right? If we had a product that was corn-based and it got thrown into the standard blue bin, our current reclamation system, it would ruin the whole batch of reclaimed goods. So we're staying on top of hemp plastic, corn plastic, to see if the trend will move there, but also making sure that our product's 100% recyclable as we do continue to scale out this product.
Great. And then I think we have time for one more before we wrap. Can you talk a little bit about how you engaged with flavor companies, or how you arrived at the flavors that you have?
Yeah, so that's been a fun process, right? Because though the athletes are looking for a high quality recovery product, usually quality and flavor don't correlate, right? The higher quality is, the harder it is to flavor the product to make it taste as it should. And so that was many iterations through some of our key partners, taking these flavors. We knew chocolate and vanilla needed to be the start, right? Because that's what everyone knows. And if we came out with this crazy new flavor, we didn't know if adoption would be fully there. And also with vanilla, our product is powder based, so you can add different liquids to change up the flavor. And so we knew chocolate, vanilla, and then from there started to go through, I would say 50 iterations of flavor, and sending it off to customers to hear what they thought, to make sure that we had a product that would sell and be accepted by these athletes.
Great, that's super interesting. Well, all right. We are pretty much wrapping up here. I do want to encourage people to check out next week's session as well, and mention that we will have these recordings of these sessions on Grow New York, so you can check it out if you came late. And I want to thank you, Danny, and you, Austin, for participating. It's a real interesting conversation. So thanks all, and have a terrific rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.